What's up, everyone? There's a lot of interesting things to talk about today, actually. I just saw that Dershowitz interview. There's like a bunch of dumb shit being talked about on Twitter. But I thought of another point I wanted to make in my overview of the alt-right series. It seems like an origin of much of the thinking that goes into the various theories and concerns is this thinking of the world and society being a zero-sum game. So if someone else is gaining or doing better, then another group must be losing or getting taken advantage of, or I'm getting taken advantage of. Wow. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, just construction. So, some things obviously are zero-sum, like land is a finite resource. So, when the colonists settled the land, they were taking it away from the Indians. You know, it's like something like that is zero-sum. But other things, it's less clear. You see this a lot with jobs, right? If immigrants are coming in into the United States, like I just read an article about there's a lot of Filipino workers, healthcare workers. So they're in the middle of this pandemic. They're getting staffed in all these jobs. Many of them have died from COVID. So like somebody from the alt-right would have a tendency to say, oh, these Filipinos, they're taking jobs from white people. You know, they're taking jobs from white people. White people are losing out. White people or natives should have these jobs. And while technically it might be true on a level that if the Filipinos didn't take those jobs, okay, maybe some white lady would have it, or some white dude, but it's not looking at the full picture. So, yeah, when immigrants come, they're gonna find a job that a native could potentially have. But the full picture way to look at it is every additional person that comes here increases aggregate demand for goods and services. So they're actually creating a job. So like, I don't know, it can be complex to think about, but I think a way to get a better idea is to reverse it, right? So if like 100,000 people coming here and working, if that would create if that takes away people's jobs, would making them leave give those jobs back? Well, I mean, like if 100,000 people left, they would have to find replacements for some of those people. But that would also result in less jobs because, but what about all the doctors those people use, all the lawyers, the shopping that they all collectively do? So it's this short-sighted thinking that an immigrant comes here, they're going to take a job. Well, maybe that might be true, but they're also creating jobs. You know what I mean? Like when the Irish came to this country, did they steal people's jobs? Or did the aggregate demand create new jobs? Did the aggregate supply, the marginal supply of labor, create new jobs? I mean, what happened when the Irish got here? They said, oh, we have this labor force. We need people to do various things. We need people to fight in the Union Army. We need people to build canals. The Erie Canal at the beginning, they didn't have like a surplus immigrant labor force to do it. They hired farmers to do it. And, you know, farmers aren't really like construction workers, although they did a pretty good job. Then toward the end of it, they got Irish immigrants to do it. Many of them moved to Buffalo, New York. So it's this ideology of If someone is gaining something, I'm losing something. If an immigrant moves to work as a doctor or an engineer, that's taking an American's job. But again, I'm just saying it's a short-sighted way to look at things, and it's not just economics or labor where this is applied. It's just basically this overarching ideology where if others are doing well or others get better, if there's other people around me that don't look like me, that don't act like me, or they're gay, or have some type of identity that's not me, have a different religion, this is a threat to me. It's taking something away. And while I do think some of this is natural, I definitely think people in the alt-right, white nationalists, are people that take this to an extreme, and they're paranoid about things that they shouldn't necessarily be paranoid about. And this kind of reminded me of the discussions around job losses due to technology. Right now we have, let's say there's a disruptive technology that could potentially cost people their jobs. This has happened countless times through various industries and technologies over time, but it feels much more threatening when it's happening in real time. So Amazon is eliminating retail through competition because they have the scale, or whether it be Uber disrupting the taxi industry. But we were talking about cashiers, and I love the cashierless checkout at stores. It's really easy. You just have a couple items, you go, you do it, bam. Because there's usually a line. You're behind you're stuck behind some old cat lady buying 100 cans of fucking cat food, and then she brings the coupon out of her purse, and they gotta argue about the coupon. Oh, well, you're only giving me a 15% discount, but it says right here it's 20, and you're sitting there like, fuck, kill myself. I love the automated the self-checkout. It's fabulous, so fast. But okay, obviously this is disruptive technology that can take people's jobs. And look, I feel bad about taking people's jobs. I've been laid off or fired, like a bunch of times. But suppose you had that attitude throughout history, and you said, no, we can't allow any disruptive technologies that take jobs. Well, you would have never allowed containerization. You would have never allowed the railway, because that took jobs away from other forms of transit. You would have never allowed any automation in the farming industry, such as tractors, anything like that. Because everyone used to basically farm their own food. But like 40% of people was farmers. Only the smart people were lawyers and politicians and doctors and stuff like this. Farming was basically the default profession. You would have never allowed email, all these things. So it's just job losses, disruption, industries and companies becoming obsolete. That's just it's something we've accepted as a part of our progress. We could be living in 1776 with horse-drawn carriages and flintlock muskets and everybody growing their own food. So it's just, people are looking at part of the equation. And I know some of these things are debatable, or if you look at something complex, largely the outsourcing of our cheap manufacturing industry to China, that's a really contentious subject. But at the same time, it has helped Americans in some way. But it's basically getting back to the alt-right. And I don't want to say race and economics are the same thing, but they sort of have similar themes and arguments. And a lot of them have this, as it relates to economics, they have this autarkic view where globalism is bad. We have to produce all our own stuff. We have our own oil. We need to use our own oil. Even though historically the U.S. oil industry has relied, was a huge exporter until recent decades. Actually, it's come back. The U.S. does export a lot of oil, but it's just thinking. We need to be self-sufficient. We need to produce our own goods, which that hasn't really worked out too well for countries that have applied policies like that, whether it be that was Nazi Germany's thinking, that was the Soviet Union's thinking, that was maybe China's thinking at a certain point. I don't know. Yeah, sorry, another road rant. But let me think how I want to wrap this up. Yeah, I'm just trying to make the point that the alt-right is, they feel too victimized by everything. Like, they feel if someone else is gaining, they're losing. If a foreign company is operating on their soil, they're losing. We saw this in the 80s with Japanese mania, and then the Japanese economy collapsed and still hasn't recovered in a lot of ways. So I just think they need to take a clearer look at, like, is that really losing if I had to be around other people that look different than me? Is that costing me something? Is that really a horrible development? Is other people doing well in a country, people who then become a vibrant part of that country economically and culturally, is that really victimizing me? I don't feel like I'm victimized by it. I feel like some of the attacks on white people, the vilification of white people, is problematic. That's kind of my biggest problem. But a lot of this other stuff that people whine and complain about, I think it's good that people want to come to the America. That's where they want to live their dream. That's where they want to spend their resources monetarily and elsewise. Yeah, I'm running out of space, so I actually got to end this, but I think I made my point. Not perfectly, but I gave it my best. Anyway, everyone have a good night.